Living in a suburban neighborhood with an HOA feels like being under constant surveillance. I had accepted the rules: keep the lawn trimmed, house painted in neutral colors, no unsightly decorations, because that's just the cost of living here. Still, I never expected my mailbox of all things would become the center of neighborhood drama. It started on a Monday morning. I was sipping my coffee when I noticed my neighbor, Karen, standing across the street, phone in hand, staring at my front yard. Karen was the self-appointed eyes of the HOA, always on the lookout for violations. I didn't think much of it until I opened my mailbox later that afternoon. Inside was a neatly folded letter marked with the HOA logo. It read, "Your mailbox is in violation of community standards. Please repaint, replace, or remove it immediately." I laughed out loud. My mailbox? I had replaced it only 6 months ago. It wasn't crooked, dented, or rusted. In fact, it was one of the sturdiest mailboxes on the block, painted a clean white with a polished black flag. But apparently, Karen had reported it, claiming it was an eyesore and too distracting. That evening, as I wheeled my trash can to the curb, Karen made sure to casually approach me. "Just so you know," she said, adjusting her oversized sunglasses, "I had to report your mailbox. Rules are rules. It's nothing personal." Her smirk said otherwise. I wanted to fire back, but instead I simply nodded. "Thanks for letting me know, Karen." Behind closed doors, though, I was furious. How could anyone find fault in something as ordinary as a mailbox? I took pride in maintaining my home, and the mailbox had even been complimented by delivery drivers. The more I thought about it, the more I realized Karen wasn't enforcing rules. She was just looking for ways to control everyone around her. Rather than comply, I decided to do some research. I pulled up the HOA guidelines, reading every word in the section about mailboxes. To my delight, I discovered I hadn't broken a single rule. The paint was an approved color, the height was regulation, and it was securely installed. That gave me an idea. If Karen wanted to play mailbox police, I'd bring in the real authority, the United States Postal Service. I scheduled a visit with the local postmaster, taking photos and measurements of my mailbox. When I explained the situation, he raised an eyebrow and chuckled. "Funny thing," he said. "That's not just compliant, it's one of the best-looking mailboxes I've seen all year." I didn't know it yet, but Karen's petty complaint had just set me on a path toward the most unexpected recognition of my life. The next week, the postmaster himself, Mr. Douglas, drove down my street in a white USPS vehicle. He was a tall man in his 60s, with neatly combed silver hair and a calm, almost grandfatherly presence. The sight of him stepping out with a clipboard instantly caught the attention of the neighbors. Curtains shifted, dogs barked, and of course, Karen stormed out of her house, phone in hand, ready to document whatever violation she thought she'd uncovered. "Good morning," Mr. Douglas said warmly as he approached my yard. "I understand there's been some concern about your mailbox." Before I could answer, Karen inserted herself into the conversation. "Yes, there has. That mailbox is clearly not up to standard. It's distracting, and frankly, it lowers the neighborhood aesthetic." Mr. Douglas raised an eyebrow. "Distracting?" He walked slowly around the mailbox, inspecting every detail. The height from the curb, the angle of installation, the paint finish, even the sturdiness of the post. He tapped the side, lifted the flag, and opened the door with a nod of approval. "This," he said finally, "is one of the finest mailboxes I've seen in a long time." Karen's mouth fell open. "Excuse me? That's impossible." "Ma'am," Mr. Douglas continued, "the paint is pristine, the measurements are textbook perfect, and the craftsmanship is far superior to most I've inspected. I see no violation here whatsoever." Karen's face turned red, but she refused to give up. "But it's too flashy. It makes the others look plain." At that, several neighbors who had gathered nearby stifled laughter. Even Mr. Douglas allowed himself a small chuckle. Since when has looking better than average been against the rules? Karen huffed, crossing her arms, clearly seething that her complaint was being dismantled in public. Then, something unexpected happened. Mr. Douglas pulled out a form from his clipboard. "In fact," he said, turning to me, "we're currently reviewing nominations for our annual Mailbox of the Year recognition. It's an internal program meant to highlight outstanding examples of craftsmanship and compliance. Your mailbox, sir, deserves a nomination." I blinked in disbelief. "Wait, you're serious?" "Absolutely." He handed me the form. "It's rare I come across one this well kept. You should be proud." Karen looked like she'd just swallowed a lemon. She spun on her heel, muttering under her breath, and stomped back to her house. The neighbors couldn't hide their smirks, some even clapping softly as she retreated. As Mr. Douglas drove away, I stood there holding the nomination form, feeling both amused and vindicated. Karen had tried to humiliate me, but instead, she had handed me an opportunity for national recognition. And something told me this was only the beginning. The days that followed were surreal. I filled out the nomination form, attaching photos of the mailbox from different angles, and even wrote a short description of the work I'd put into maintaining it. Honestly, it felt strange writing an essay about something as simple as a mailbox. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it wasn't just a mailbox. It was a symbol of pride in my home. When I submitted the nomination, I didn't expect much. Maybe a polite acknowledgement, maybe nothing at all. But then, 2 weeks later, I received an official envelope in the mail stamped with the USPS seal. Inside was a letter. "Congratulations! Your mailbox has been selected as a finalist for the United States Postal Service Mailbox of the Year Award. Winners will be announced at our annual recognition event." I nearly dropped the letter. A finalist? Out of thousands of mailboxes across the country? My ordinary suburban mailbox was suddenly a contender for a national award. News travels fast in a neighborhood like ours. Within a day, everyone knew. Some neighbors came over to congratulate me, joking about wanting tips on mailbox design. Even the mail carrier gave me a thumbs up when delivering packages. But not everyone was happy. Karen? She cornered me one evening as I was mowing the lawn. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're turning a mailbox into some kind of circus act. Do you really think people care about this nonsense?" I shut off the mower and looked at her calmly. Apparently, the Postal Service cares. And so does the neighborhood. Her eyes narrowed. "Don't get too comfortable. These things have a way of backfiring." With that, she stormed off, leaving me shaking my head. For once, I didn't let her negativity get under my skin. Instead, I focused on the award ceremony. It was going to be held at the downtown Civic Center, with press coverage and local officials attending. My wife helped me polish the mailbox post until it gleamed, and I took one last set of photos to send in before the big day. The more I prepared, the more I realized that Karen's complaint had actually sparked something positive. Without her pettiness, none of this would have happened. On the night before the event, as I placed the letter back into its envelope, I smiled. Tomorrow, win or lose, I'd stand in front of the postmaster and a crowd of people, proud of something Karen had tried to shame me for. What I didn't know was that the award ceremony would bring a twist no one expected. The Civic Center was buzzing with energy the day of the award ceremony. Rows of chairs filled the auditorium, with banners displaying the USPS Eagle logo hanging from the walls. Dozens of people mingled, finalists, postal workers, community leaders, all waiting for the announcements. I couldn't believe I was one of them, all because of a complaint that was supposed to bring me down. As I sat in the front row with my wife, I noticed a familiar figure lurking in the back. Karen. She had actually shown up, dressed in her usual oversized sunglasses and carrying a tote bag, like she was attending a board meeting. I almost laughed. She couldn't resist watching, probably hoping I'd be embarrassed. The ceremony began with speeches about community pride and the importance of mail service. Then came the highlight, the award presentations. One by one, finalists were called up and recognized for their creative, unique, or well-kept mailboxes. Some were ornate, with hand-painted designs, while others were innovative, using sustainable materials. Finally, Mr. Douglas, the postmaster, stepped to the podium. And now, the award for Mailbox of the Year. This recognition goes not just to design, but to care, compliance, and the way a mailbox reflects pride in community. My heart pounded as he opened the envelope. This year's winner is Mr. Anderson from Oak Ridge Estates. The crowd clapped, and I rose from my seat in shock. My wife squeezed my hand as I walked up to the stage. Flashbulbs from local reporters popped, and Mr. Douglas shook my hand warmly as he handed me a framed certificate and a small golden plaque shaped like, what else? A mailbox. In that moment, all I could think about was Karen. And sure enough, as I glanced into the audience, there she was, jaw dropped, arms crossed so tightly it looked painful. Several neighbors sitting nearby gave her sideways glances, some even grinning at her obvious frustration. When I gave my short acceptance speech, I kept it simple. Sometimes the things we take for granted, like a mailbox, say a lot about who we are. I'm proud to live in a community that values care and craftsmanship. The applause echoed, and I felt a wave of vindication. Later that week, the HOA had no choice but to acknowledge my award in the neighborhood newsletter. The headline read, "Local Resident Wins National Mailbox of the Year Honor." Karen stopped patrolling the street for a while after that. She avoided eye contact, no longer eager to play mailbox police. As for me, every time I opened that sturdy little door to grab my mail, I couldn't help but smile. After all, not many people can say their mailbox defeated both an HOA complaint and Karen herself. Enjoying this neighborhood drama about how a simple mailbox turned into a victory over HOA rules. Hit that subscribe button for more real-life twists like this. Also, give this video a like if you've ever had a run-in with a stubborn neighbor. And drop a comment below. What's the pettiest thing you've seen someone complain about?